Welcome to the On Your Side podcast. I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell.
How about that weather?
Perfect. Springtime is here.
We were talking earlier about the golf cart. It's golf cart weather. You need to get yourself a golf cart. If you did get a golf cart, is there anywhere in your neighborhood where you could ride it legally if it's, plated and stuff?
You know what? Nobody in my neighborhood has a golf cart. We're not a golf cart community. But there is a donut shop right around the corner from my neighborhood that I would probably go to a whole bunch on said golf cart.
If you're eating donuts, you probably need to walk. You don't.
Oh man,
right?
Fun.
No, there's a lot of little suburbs around here. One which I live in. I mean, everybody's got golf carts.
Where do you cruise?
Oh, grocery store, restaurants. You name it. UPS store to return stuff.
It's so fun.
Oh, it's so fun.
I love it.
In this weather, wind kicking back.
Yeah. Right now, my husband, I know he is out on the golf course.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, do you think you can leave work early today? Cut out and come with us?
Yes.
And I was like, no, I have a lot of things to do. But
listen, you should.
Why
not?
Taking advantage.
Is he out there with the kiddos?
No, just a friend today.
Just a friend?
So
okay.
He's going to actually play a real round of golf versus the modified golf with the 5-year-old.
Yeah. How long do they last? Like 9 holes?
They can go 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
We'll skip, if there's a water hazard, we skip that.
Yeah.
There's no reason to just lose all of the golf balls for the 5-year-old into the water.
Just drop it on the other side. I get you. So one of the most aggravating things in the world for me, I have a list. But as we always say, you're my unpaid counselor.
I know.
I vent to you a lot about.
I kind of like it.
Well, one of them we talked about was motorcycles lane splitting.
Yeah, we can't go back.
Yeah, we're not going back there.
Your blood pressure gets too high.
The other one on the list, probably number 2. That's what we're talking about today. These annoying phone calls that we get. These robocalls, emails, text messages. I mean, how often do you get them?
Pretty regularly. So I have 2 phones. I have a work phone and I have a personal phone. So I kind of get them a little bit on both.
Yeah.
But I'm not nearly as inundated as some people. I don't know why I got lucky.
Yeah. I think, just maybe your number is not out there as frequently or maybe as often as, say, mine is or whatever. But it's out there. It's in the cloud, I guess they say, whatever the hell that is. But, hey, we're talking to Rob Shavell today. He's an online privacy expert with DeleteMe. How you doing today, Rob?
I'm doing well. It's almost golf cart weather here on the East Coast, so I'm keeping up with the conversation.
Hey, I'm a little worried, though. If you break your golf cart out in New York, that's probably not a good idea, right? I mean, it wouldn't last more than 20 minutes before you're either in traffic or you got ran over.
Correct. It is a bad idea out here to take your golf cart outside of the golf course, But I'm jealous that you guys can. It sounds like a good way to live. Let's remember that golf carts were the first Teslas, if you will.
Yeah,
first electric cars.
You're right about that. Yeah. So who knows? Maybe we'll have Tesla planes. Oh, wait, I think they're working on one already, aren't we? Hey, Rob, thanks for being on the On Your Side podcast. And you are an online privacy expert, and we have a lot of questions for you. Number 1, why is Susan not getting as many, annoying phone calls as I am? Why am I so special?
Well, it may be your good looks, and it also
thank you.
It also may be that Susan's already done something that's pretty smart, which is have 2 different phones, and so she's compartmentalized, to use a big word, some of her identity information, and that helps her be a little bit more harder to reach and harder to tag for the data brokers that end up putting your information out there.
How do these bad guys have my number or Susan's number or anybody's number? How do they get it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, we fill out a lot of forms. We do a lot of shopping online. We're constantly generating digital data. And that's the problem. Like all of that stuff ends up, as you guys just said, in the cloud. And once it gets in the cloud, there's many, many companies, hundreds of them actually, called data brokers that specialize in finding it, scraping it, and putting it into profiles about every one of us Americans. And then they go sell those profiles for as little as, $5 a pop.
Whoa. What is the goal of that information? Who are they selling this information to?
Well, like any good salespeople that don't have any restrictions on them, they'll sell it to anybody. And actually, this became such a serious issue. It went right up to the Washington and the president, because it turns out they were selling it to the Chinese and the Russians. And so now there's regulation in place to stop these data brokers in the US from selling it to other countries that maybe really shouldn't have all that detail about us in the first place.
If I'm buying something and I have to put my personal information down there, my phone number, my address, is that on like legitimate sites? Like, say, if I'm buying something from JCPenney or I don't know, I can't think of anything else, but I mean, then what, the bad guy somehow gets access to that?
Yeah, and look, this is all perfectly legal. The JCPenney can go sell, because none of us are reading that fine print when we sign up. We're just trying to get, whatever we're trying to get, and that's just how we are. I mean, we don't have the time. You got to play golf. If you couldn't ever get 9 or 18 holes in if you read the fine print on all these things. So yeah, the fine print says we have the right to sell your information to legitimate third parties, and those third parties are often data brokers buying it.
Man, that's a good point, because if you don't read that fine print, and it is in there that, you agree to let us sell your information, it's terrible.
Well, but there's nothing you can do because you want the transaction.
Yeah,
right?
you want the transaction. You're right. I mean, so what do? Either buy it or you don't buy it. So how has you call this brand impersonation? Tell me how that works and how people can kind of recognize it. And I'll bring one up as an example. Amazon. I get that all the time. Hey, did you make an Amazon purchase? Or the other one is, we're trying to make a delivery and we're having complications. How does that work?
Right. So there's sort of multiple ways that all this personal information of ours is used and misused and abused. And one of the ways that you guys started out by talking about is we're getting annoying text and robocalls and spam, and it's bothering us. And now we miss some important calls because somebody calls us that we want to talk to from an unknown number, but we don't answer that anymore. All of us have these experiences, right? But those are just sort of what I would call aggravating misuse of our personal information. The other kind of thing that you were just asking about, it, impersonation and these kinds of phishing attacks, is really those are really perpetrated by hackers and cyber criminals that are trying to get us to click on things so that they can steal our identity, steal money from us, that kind of thing. And they'll often use those big brands, Amazon and your bank and what have you, to look as official as possible. And one of the problems is the more information about us that's out there, the more personalized and smart they can make those texts and those emails that we're receiving, and even those phone calls.
Are they getting the information also from the legitimate, lawful data brokers?
Hard to say. I think it's a mix of finding that information on the dark web, from data breaches and things like that, and from legitimate data brokers who are willing to sell to them. Because again, if they're willing to sell to the Russians and Chinese, they're sure enough willing to sell to some marketing company or cyber attacker.
So when these text messages come in, it look like they're from Amazon or UPS or whoever trying to deliver something.
Or even Wells Fargo. This is your bank.
Yeah, like we're trying to stop a breach or a hack right now on your account. Click here. We're going to help. Mm-hmm. How do you identify what are some of the things that are telltale signs that they're not actually trying to do these things? These aren't legitimate companies.
Yeah, I mean, the basic expert advice here, especially these days when AI is making these kinds of personalized attacks better and better, is it's almost impossible. It's getting almost impossible. We don't have the time to decipher what's real and what's fake and what's a phishing attack and what's legitimate. The best way to do it, the easiest, simplest thing, is when you get that message from your bank or from Amazon, just go open your browser and go there and log in, and don't ever do it through the message that you got. And that way you'll be sure if there is something that they need from you, you'll get that notification when you log in, and you don't have to worry about clicking on a bad link or getting hacked.
It seems like these scams have really evolved over time, and they're going to get even trickier and better in the next few years with AI. How have they evolved, and what do you kind of forecast in the future where these scams might be going?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's concerning because we all know what technology does. It gets better, gets faster, and it gets cheaper. And we've seen, most of us have seen how ChatGPT works and how convincing computers can be now when you ask them a long-winded question and they sort of understand it and can spit back something that looks like a pretty smart high schooler was on the other end of it automatically. So how that plays into the future is these hackers and marketers and anybody else that's misusing our personally identifiable information are going to be able to find ways to reach us and convince us of things. And that can have a lot of different implications, not just having our identity stolen and some money taken out of our bank account, but for companies where we work, they're getting attacked all the time with these very sophisticated attacks. And it's somebody saying, hey, the CEO or the CFO needs something from the controller at the company, or they need something from the security team. So they're getting access to these companies' databases where you might work. So by not being vigilant in your personal life, there's one set of risks, and we've talked about those a little bit. By not being vigilant about this stuff at work, there's a whole nother set of risks, and you could be putting your company altogether at risk, and somebody gets into their network and boom, they can freeze the whole company up. And we've seen that with ransomware attacks and other things. And AI is just getting smarter and smarter. So it is a concern.
Let me kind of ride on those coattails real quick. Not long ago, I got an email from our general manager. And
for our listeners, you can't see Gary is doing cool air quotes.
Yeah. It was our fake general manager. It wasn't from our real GM. But anyway, I was targeted with the email saying, hey, this is the GM. She said her name in the email, and she wanted me to do a couple of things. I knew it was a scam. I reported it, but and there were other people in the newsroom that also. Did you get one, Susan?
I didn't get that either. I don't know. Maybe scammers aren't worried about
Susan
me. They're
like, Susan is
she is above it all.
Maybe they just think that I'm stupid and I'm the dumb one of the pair.
Go after Gary. Go after Gary. He's a better chance.
How did they target me and the other people and get our email address, and they knew the general manager's name? And how does that work?
Yeah. So it's a great question. And this is where the AI and the information phishing is getting smarter and smarter, because the amount of detail of the information that's now aggregated about us by these data brokers is getting richer and deeper. So, for example, there's more information about not just us and what our address is and past addresses and phone numbers and cell phone and all that kind of stuff. But now there's information about our family, our dates of birth, our vehicles. All that stuff is starting to creep in there because, again, it's just easy and cheap to aggregate all this data that we're generating. And then you can marry it automatically with things that you find on LinkedIn and, your corporate role. So all of a sudden, and it gets even worse because now they can find, if you have a voice, like you're on a podcast, they can replicate your voice and make that into a deep fake. So all of a sudden you can be calling Susan and it's not you. And I know nobody targets Susan, but at some point she could fall for something like that. And again, we got to remember that, as stupid as these things can still feel once in a while, today, they're getting smarter and smarter, and they're being able to use all this new technology. And it only takes one or two people out of 1,000 to make the crime successful.
We did a report last year kind of highlighting how easy it is to use that AI to do a voice clone. And I chose just a free version online, and it needed me to read a handful of words, a couple sentences, and then all of a sudden it wasn't a perfect replication of my voice, but for free and for only having to have a couple seconds of sample, it was convincing enough that it was kind of scary to say, imagine what the bad guys could do with good software that they've paid for, right?
Right. Well, and I mean, not to digress, but I mean, that's the grandparent scam, this is little Johnny, granddad, please help. I've been kidnapped or I'm stuck in Mexico because I did something stupid. It's crazy. And who knows where this is all going to go. It's not going to go away, though. We know that. Hey, Rob, I know you run DeleteMe, and that's a paid service to kind of like remove your name or information from some of these sites and these data brokers. How do people get a hold? Maybe they want to find out more about you or DeleteMe. How do they do that?
Yeah, it's just joindeleteme.com. Just go there. All the information's on the website. And by the way, it's not just a service that you have to pay for. We also publish free guides to every different data broker you might want to opt out of, steps 1, 2, 3, 4. So you don't need to spend money, but if you want a service to proactively reduce all that information that's exposed out there about you and your family, DeleteMe is one of several services that can do it for you and do it all year long without you having to worry about it yourself.
Before we let you go, how exactly does that work? When you ask a certain data broker to delete your information, just walk us through the process. Does it actually help?
Well, I honestly don't think we'd be in business and growing if it didn't help. But you have to judge for yourself. But how it works is real simple. You sign up with us just like you sign up for anything on the web. You put in a form what information you want us to find, your past addresses, your cell phone, email, personal emails. In your cases, in both your work phone and your home, your personal phone, and then our privacy advisors and our technology goes out and searches all hundreds of different data brokers, and it finds the matches where we know they have your information and they're exposing it to search on Google and they're selling it to anyone that wants to buy it. Then we go through each one of their processes, and believe me, they love creating process and red tape and making it difficult because, for obvious reasons, that's good for business. And we navigate through all those and make sure that you're opted out of those databases so that they don't come up and search, and so that you're not accessible to all these people that might want to use your information for all kinds of reasons, some of which we even haven't touched on. So that's how it works. And the problem is, the last thing I'd say is we're a subscription service. It's $129 for a year per person. So it's not cheap. But one thing that we do is we go do it all year long for you, because you're always generating new information and it's always popping up in different data brokers at different times. So in order to really reduce the amount of information that's exposed out there about you and your family, you need to be kind of relentless. And that's what DeleteMe is.
All right. Hey, listen, thanks so much, Rob, for joining us. Watch that golf cart up there, okay? Don't make me worry about you, and be safe at the golf course. And it's the website is joindeleteme.com?
Joindeleteme.com.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for being on the On Your Side podcast. We'll talk again soon, okay?
Enjoy the golf. Thanks for having me.
The On Your Side podcast is produced by Brad Denny. Our audio engineer and editor is Todd Martin. Segment producer is Colin Stanton. And I'm Gary Harper.
And I'm Susan Campbell. If you have a problem you can't resolve, maybe we can't, send us a message through azfamily.com or our AZ Family mobile app. Look for the On Your Side section and leave us a message. Thanks so much for listening to the On Your Side podcast. And if you like it, leave us a review. We'll see you next week.
On Your Side is on Good Morning Arizona every weekday morning at 6:45 and 7 o'clock. And every weekday evening on Good Evening Arizona at 4 and 5 o'clock. You can also catch it on Arizona's Family News at 9 on 3TV every weeknight.